Following that horrendous debacle we saw last weekend against Arsenal, there's no denying that the pressure is really, really on now, big time. West Ham must respond, in the right fashion. They have to, not because of necessarily David Moyes' future or etc., just because of pride, like for the club. You know what I mean? The fans need a response. We've got to see a response from this team. They've just got to go out and put in a good show. They've got to try and get a result. There's no two ways about it. We cannot afford now to go to Nottingham Forest and lose at the City Ground. We just can't. West Ham have got to go there and get 3 points, or at the very least go and put in a very good performance and get a draw. Do you know what I mean? They've got to work hard for it. We cannot go there and lose. It will be, it don't even bear thinking about, does it really, of how bad things will get in terms of fan unrest and all the sort of social media stuff. It's just going to be awful. So the pressure is absolutely on. And so it bloody should be, really. I've got absolutely zero sympathy for anyone, the manager, the players, no one. That they have really let the club down, let the fans down big time against Arsenal. And it's one of those that it's going to take a long time, isn't it, for it to kind of, the pain for that to sort of die down a little bit. For me personally, anyway, I can't see, it's not one of those results, as I've said before, you can't just say, it's a bad day, we move on. Even like usual with losses, they're always a bad feeling, isn't there, after West Ham lose a game, whatever it is. It doesn't matter, even a game you expect to lose, you never feel good. But usually you can have a day or so, then you sort of draw a line and go, I'll start focusing on the next game now. I'm not going to worry too much about that. That Arsenal wasn't just a loss, it was a humiliation, and this club have to respond. So let's be honest, we're going to need all the help we can get when we go into this game. West Ham need a boost. David Moyes certainly needs to sort it out big time in terms of his team selections and things. I mean, David Moyes conversations for another day. This isn't about David Moyes. This is about the fitness of the team. So obviously the key player that we are all eager to see back, and you can clearly see we're missing big time, is Lucas Paqueta. There's no two ways about that. It's going to be very interesting to see what the angle is now from the club, because as far as we know, that Paqueta's pretty close to returning, really. He's not a million miles away. ExWHUEmployee's update, it's been for a few weeks now, that the Brentford game, so not the Forest game, the week after, the Brentford game was the kind of one that was earmarked. That's more likely to be his return. Considering the fact that he was rushed back, wasn't he, for the Bristol City game, which was, you look back at that, a ridiculous decision. Not necessarily blaming Moyes for that. I'm blaming just the club, fitness, whatever it was. Even maybe the player was, saying he was fine. I don't know. I don't know who to point the finger at with that one, but it backfired big time because he broke down, didn't he, really quickly, despite having a full week of training. So you imagine that the club are going to sort of be in the mindset of like, well, we're not going to get our fingers burnt again. We're not going to do that again. We're going to make sure he's absolutely, completely fit to return. It absolutely does make sense. I can understand that. But that Arsenal game result, I imagine that slightly shifted the mindset a little bit in thinking we need him back. You know what I mean? Like if he's 90%, should we just get him back in? I don't know. I don't know whether I don't think they will. I don't think they will, but I can understand why. I mean, look, if you're David Moyes, right, in this scenario, you'd be saying to your medical team, please tell me he's bloody fit. I need him out there. I need this player back. Because, my word, we need a spark. We need something, because that performance against Arsenal was horrendous. And I don't want to keep going over it again, but there's a big pressure on to get our players back. We need a strong squad. We need to get a lift. Paqueta would certainly provide that. However, from the updates that we understand at the moment, it is still likely to be Brentford. I don't think the club will risk Paqueta. I just don't think they will against Forest, which is a real shame, isn't it? That is a shame. Not that they won't risk him, but he's not available. Look, it could be available. We're going to get updates clear nearer the time whether he could possibly feature. He wasn't at the open day training, I don't believe, with the team. So, it's unlikely, isn't it? Let's be honest. It doesn't look at this stage very likely that Paqueta's going to be involved. If he's going to be involved, it's likely to be a bench appearance, isn't it? Possibly. He might have him on the bench, maybe, but I think it's highly unlikely. But what is, in a bit more of a positive spin, let's forget Paqueta at the moment. Let's just assume Paqueta is not going to be available for Forest, but likely to be available for Brentford at home, which would be a real boost. We really do need him back. But Nottingham Forest game is likely to see the return of PAQ Antonio. And do you know what? After what has been an absolutely horrendous start to this year, was it 7 games, no wins, dumped out the FA Cup, 6-0 to Arsenal. I mean, I don't know about you, I'm feeling pretty sick at the moment. And really that feeling of, we're just not really looking forward to it. Like I'm at that mindset at the moment. I'm not looking at the Forest game going, come on, bring it on. I'm thinking, oh God, we've got to go through it again. Things haven't been good. The football's been bad and everything. It's not a good time. I'll be honest, like the return of PAQ Antonio is a very welcome one. It really is. I think it's going to be a huge lift. We really need him back. And considering the fact that we've got David Moyes as our manager and we know David Moyes now well enough, don't we? We know how he operates. He has his trusted players and he is a stubborn git and he will not move away from those trusted players. He's got Thomas Souček. He will never be dropped ever, regardless of who we ever sign. Thomas Souček's in that team. He's got a few others, hasn't he? He's got Soufal that he really trusts. He's got players that he trusts, Zuma, etc., etc. Those players that will always retain their positions. You've got James Ward-Prowse now, I think falls into that category. Jared Bowen, certainly. I mean, how on earth Jared Bowen wasn't taken off against Arsenal? You look at him, I mean, he was, running his socks off. He's running that player into the ground and we need him. We need him fit. And we've got vital games coming up. You thought you might take him off. My point is, we know how David Moyes is with trusted players. My gut feeling is that the return of Antonio will see him coming back into the side. I believe that he will then put Bowen back out on the wing and have Kudus out on the wing, and it'll be Bowen, Antonio, and Kudus. That's my gut feeling, because we know for a fact, let's be honest, we've had years of experience with this now with Moyes. PAQ Antonio is a player that he trusts. He is a player that works the David Moyes system. And as much as I am, like many, frustrated with the system, frustrated with what I'm seeing, especially of late, it's been, when it works, you can kind of go, okay, I might not like it so much, but it's working. When you don't like it and it's not working at all, that's when it becomes horrendous. So I'm actually now on the feeling of I'm just delighted with the idea that we've got Antonio back, because it will be a player that he trusts and it will actually help us out, because let's be honest, we need him. I know that he wasn't in the best of form before he got his injury, but we really do need Antonio back in that squad. We need another option, because Bowen is not a striker. He can operate as a striker. I'm not saying he's completely, he can't do that job at all, but it's not fair to keep calling on him. That's not his best position. His best position's out on the right. We know that, on the wing. Although I would say so is Kudus. I think they maybe have to look to put Bowen out on the left. Whatever it may be, we need to sort it out, and they need a change. And the fact is that we will have, it's looking like, we're going to have Antonio back available. I think that's a really big boost, actually. I do think it's a boost for the club. Forget Moyes, forget all the situation regarding his future. I'm not really talking about that. I'm just focusing on this game. You know what I mean? I don't want to keep getting dragged into that whole debate over, Moyes in, Moyes out, what are we doing? If we lose this game, he's going to lose. All I'm thinking about is just this match. West Ham have got to respond. We've got to go and get a decent result against Nottingham Forest. And let's be honest, we're playing against the Nottingham Forest side. They're playing well. This is going to be a very tough game. We haven't got a great record. It's going to be a very hard game against Nottingham Forest. We didn't get the result there last season, did we? And we need one this time. We're going to need a very good performance. So, despite it being a bit of a blow with Paqueta, obviously looking a little bit further away, look, it may change, it may do, and they may even just bring it forward. As I've said, it's unlikely. I'm going to kind of imagine at this stage, I'm leaning on the side that he won't be available. I think it's really good news that Antonio is going to be made available. And let's be honest, I think even from X's update, they probably would have extended Antonio's time a little bit longer for recovery. They can't afford to do that. They just can't. They've got to get him back in. He's been training for 2 weeks now. Get him back in that side. I dread to think how rusty he's going to be. That does worry me a little bit. But, my God, we're out of options, aren't we? It's ridiculous we're in this scenario, isn't it? It's ridiculous we've just come through a January transfer window and we are so weak. The squad is so thin and we've only got 2 players injured. 2, Antonio and Paqueta. That's it. And we're literally like, I don't know what we're going to do. You know, it is ridiculous, absolutely insane how West Ham put themselves in this position. It is shockingly bad. But I don't want to keep moaning. I'm trying to make this a positive. Having Antonio back is a big positive, and bloody hell, we are going to need it this weekend.